Hey guys, Jeff Mack. Hope you are well. And I am doing my very first Facebook Live video. So this is actually a really important topic. I'm going to record this. I'm going to share it. And I really want your feedback on what we're going to talk about. And in every business, okay, there's an intersection, right? And so that intersection in in real estate, your major intersections are your highest valued real estate. Thanks guys, good to have you on. Thanks James, good to see you here. And so lots of different intersections, come into our lives and come into our business. The intersection I want to talk to you about today, and for those of you that follow my stuff know that I discuss a lot about building a global business, and one of the key things is building a relationship with your new partners, building a quick relationship with your new partners, building a lasting relationship with your new partners, and being likable. But then also there is that critical part or critical component about being a good coach, a good mentor, and that is getting people to reach and do something that they might not otherwise do. And I'll give you an example. When people get started in your business, oftentimes there's an investment required, right? And so if you're in a product based business, you're going to encourage them to buy some products to use themselves. If you're in a service based business, obviously get on the service themselves. There's been a lot of regulation in our industry lately that kind of encourages big package purchases. Like when I first got involved in this industry back in 1990, my investment was $4,000 and it was primarily in product. You don't see that so much, particularly in North America today. But the tendency is for people, especially that haven't been involved in our industry before, okay, haven't been entrepreneurs before, probably is a better way of saying it, or they've been involved in direct sales before, network marketing, and didn't have a great experience. The tendency for those people is going to be, hey Al, good to have you here from Mexico. Hope you're safe down there. Just saw the news. Jay, good to see you down in Florida. Hope all is well down there with the storm that just passed through. And thanks guys for joining in. And so the normal thing that people typically do, particularly when they're new or they've had a bad experience in the past, hey Ben, good to see you, man. And that is to not stretch themselves, to not reach, to not take any risk. You heard the old saying that you can't, get to second base by keeping one foot on first, but people innately, particularly again, if they're not experienced entrepreneurs or if they're maybe a little insecure about what they're doing, they typically will come in and not buy any product or do anything to start with because they're scared. They don't want to risk it. They don't want their friends and family to say, I told you so, if they don't get their investment back. And so that's the other crossroad. So there was the road about building a good relationship, and then there's a crossroad about getting people to stretch, to push themselves. Ben Jones, good to see you. Hey, Dreamer, good to have you on here. Hey there. And so what do? How do you handle that? And it's really important, I think, that you handle this correctly. First off, let me just share in my career, I have seen, in fact, I was with companies that, my very first company, it was a $4,000 kind of start, or they encourage you to start, at the $4,000 level. Alan, good to have you on. Jamie, good to see you. And then we made the compensation plan a little bit easier. And after about 5 years, we reduced that down to, the maximum package that you could purchase was $1,000. Now it was $1,000 worth of product. And then the compensation plan changed a few years later, and that purchase went down to about $150. Now, one of the things that we saw is that people that made a bigger investment into their business, and this is an investment for products, as an example, or in this case, they had a higher percentage of being involved in that business after a year. The company actually tracked them for a year. This was way before there was really a lot of data available, but there was at least that data. And so they were, in fact, those people that purchased the $1,000 pack, I believe, were 300% more likely, or 3 times more likely, to still be active, involved in the business after 12 months than those people that just placed a minimal size order. And so we know that a bigger commitment needs a bigger commitment. Now, again, there is a definite, within reason here. There's a caveat, don't just go out and load people up. In fact, that brings up another subject, front loading, which you've heard about in this industry before, people encouraging people to buy more and more and more product. Now, I don't think that's a dollar quantity that defines that. I think if that person is not really sure what their goals are, and that person, is a little bit insecure about what they're doing, and you're not willing to roll up your sleeves and help them get rid of their inventory and build a successful business, then I'll tell you $300 is a front load order. If all of those things are in play, if that person is excited, that person wants to build a business, that person is going to do what it takes, and you're going to help them do that, then I don't think, personally, for me, $500 or $1,000 is too big of an investment for them to get involved in the business. And in fact, I know that having some inventory on hand is going to make product flow faster. I know from the data that I've seen and the personal experience I've had in the 27 years in this business is that people that make a commitment, they typically are more committed, longer, obviously, than those that don't make a commitment. The barrier of entry in our business is still so low, particularly when you compare it to a franchising opportunity or any other type of a traditional business. But here today, in our business, the barrier of entry is very, very low, but you've got to make it such that it's not easy to exit, so that people don't want to walk away from their income, and that's, or from their investment, from this money that they can recoup. But again, that's solely determined by 2 things. What's their commitment level, and what's your commitment level? What's their commitment to themselves and their business, and what's your commitment to help them? And so the way I handle this with new team members and new folks I'm coaching is, we break down their compensation plan, see if there's an advantage, okay, to earning, to what their earnings are in the beginning. In a lot of cases with compensation plans in North America, you could certainly work your way up to the same level of earning that you could enter at with your product purchase. And that's cool. It just may take you a little bit longer. And so that's that's an assessment that you want to just point out. JJ, thank you, brother. Good to see you on. And so that's what you want to point out. You also want to, figure out and ask what their objectives are for their business, how serious they are, what their first month's goals are, how many people do they have in mind to introduce a product or service to in their first month of the business. And all of those things determine what is an appropriate order for them. Okay. And so then you encourage them, whatever the discussion leads to, then it's time just to make a decision and move forward, because without doing that, without placing some kind of order in their business, you're not in business. You can't open a restaurant without any inventory. You can't open a restaurant, someone comes in and orders eggs and you don't have any eggs, right? That just doesn't make any sense. That's bad business. And so in the direct sales business, a little bit of inventory, even if it's just to use and experience yourself, is necessary. I like to have some to use and experience, have some on hand for the first few people that want to order, and then you can replenish your inventory. Now, the second part about, or that's important about this subject is, number one is getting people off, getting them committed, getting them to a start, indeed, hopefully a fast start, but then developing a game plan and helping them implement that plan so they do get off to a fast start. Because here's something that's also critically important. The longer that people go between deciding to move forward and making a decision to then putting income in their pocket, the longer that time frame is, the higher percentage chance there is of them deciding to put their time somewhere else, whether that's just to stop sacrificing the TV time, and go back to watching TV versus making their phone calls, or whether that's to not sacrifice some of the discretionary time that they have to do other things, play sports, whatever the case might be, and put it in the business. And so if you can't make that time worthwhile to them, and if that doesn't compute in their head, John Lobb, good to see you, buddy. Alex, good to see you. If that doesn't compute to them, then the equation, it doesn't make sense. They're not going to spend more time in your business. So the other thing I want you to understand is whatever commitment that your new team member makes, okay, it's important that you help get them off to some level of success, whether that's just get 2 customers in their first week in the business, whether it's do, some type of private group gatherings where they have 10 people, in front of the opportunity. Whatever that case might be, when you enroll them, the clock is ticking. And the saying in our business is a fast start is an easy start is very, very true, because the longer it takes a person to get into some kind of level of success, okay, whether it's just a customer or a new partner or what have you. First off, again, the voice inside their head that tells them they're crazy for doing this is going to get louder and louder and louder. The voice that other people, whether it's perceived or whether it's real, that other people are kind of mumbling, is in their heads is getting louder and louder and louder. And they're starting to think, well, maybe I'm not spending my time in the right place. It's a problem that's endemic into our industry because, again, the barrier of entry is very low. Can you imagine someone starting a restaurant, starting a franchise? Let's say you bought a Jamba Juice franchise. You pay $50 for the franchising, $50,000 for the franchising fee. You got your real estate, you got your employees, you got all this stuff. And then all of a sudden things don't happen the first week or the first month like you want it to. Can you imagine people walking away from that investment? No, that's what happens in our industry. So that's why you've got to be really, vigilant about helping your new distributors get off to a fast start, helping them design a game plan, helping them implement that game plan. Rudy, good to have you on. Oh, sorry about that. Had a phone call come in. So in large measure, many of them are not going to want to pick up the phone. They're not going to want to get off to any kind of start. They're going to be scared. There's all this trepidation. And again, I'm talking about folks that are first-time entrepreneurs or folks that have not had such a great experience in the past in this industry. But that is a larger number than people than you might expect. And so that's where that crossroads come in, where you, number one, have got to be their friend. But second, you have got to I'm sorry, I'm just making sure the technology is working here. You got to be their friend, but secondly, you got to be their coach. You got to be their mentor, and you got to, in some cases, give them some straight talk and help them over, whatever chasm that they're having, whatever block they're having in their mind. And lastly, if you can't make an impact like that, okay, then you have to let them seek their own level. Right? Plug them into your group meetings, your group calls, and then you go and find another partner that's ready to, that's confident enough and ready to take your coaching, and you get that person started and show them by example through someone else. You can't continue to beat people to get them to do what you want them to do. They've got to find it themselves. You can lead them. Okay. You can encourage them. You can coach them, but after a while, you're not doing them or yourself any good by just continuing to push when they're just not mentally ready yet. And so that's the critical crossroads in our business. that we oftentimes face. And if you if you face that yourself in in your direct sales business, I want you to put a 1. If you've never had that happen, I want you to put a 2 in the comments. And then what I'd also like to do, if you have faced this and have a great way that you've addressed this, then place a comment down here as well. I'm gonna post this video so that the replay is up there. And I want to hear your feedback. I want to hear the good, the bad. This is a discussion that is not talked about enough. And I wanted to just kind of come on with my first Facebook Live and discuss it a little bit with you. Again, if you're watching this, I have some of my friends that have popped on here that aren't necessarily in the direct sales business. A lot of these principles apply to typically any business as well, but this is primarily for those folks in the MLM, multi-level marketing or direct sales space. And if you've been there long enough, you know exactly what I'm discussing in this video. And I'd love to hear your feedback on how you've addressed that, how you handle it. But don't forget, option number 3, which is go find someone else to show them. And then with a lot of compassion, with a lot of love, stay in touch with those individuals and then, show them what you're doing and letting them know that whenever they're ready, you're ready to help them get their business off to a profitable start. So with that, guys, I appreciate you kind of lasting through my first Facebook Live. I'd love to hear your comments and your feedback, good or bad. And we'll see you on the next live video. Okay, take care.